Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of What Do You Call It? Podcast. That'll make sense as we speak. I'm your host, GB. Today's guest is an independent, that will make sense as well, professional wrestler, professor of archaeology. Please give up for the well-travelled Pitfall Jones. How you doing today, mate? You all good?
I'm terrific, George. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm glad that we've been able to rearrange this. And the first time you was unable to do it, second time I was unable to do it. So third time lucky, which is good.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a good conversation today. I'm actually going to rewind things. And just before I talk about Indiana Jones, because it's going to be a big part of this conversation and the gimmick as well, and your influence as well. I actually want to know about wrestling first. Like, when did you, what was your first wrestling-related memory?
Well, first, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I know it's like 8-hour time difference. Like, way to go, making the math work on that.
Took a while. Google live.
Genuinely more work than either of us could put into it, but I dig it. Wrestling related memory. I feel like that's just a question to give away my age, but I think when I was a kid, I just go to a friend's house. My family wasn't watching wrestling, but all my friends were, and I clearly remember images of the Undertaker and the $1 Million Man, and very vivid memories of these over the top characters in early 90s, 91, 92, somewhere there.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. No, you're actually kind of the same age as me, so it's not too bad, and that's not that old. I won't be revealing that on this podcast. But no, that's cool, man. I can also assume you were into films growing up. What I'm going to assume one of the films was Indiana Jones. Oh, yeah. What was it about Indiana Jones that you love so much?
That's two questions, right? Because genuinely love the movies, and then why do I wrestle that way, right? Those are probably two stories, but I've always loved Indiana Jones, just based on my age. I ended up seeing them entirely out of order, right? I think I went 3, 2, 1 because I think the third one came out in 90 or 91, 89, somewhere in there where it was all show the kid that, right? And then I was like, oh, this is the best. And then they're like, oh, you like this one? We got other ones to show you. So the story made no sense to me, but it was just all about the action, man. And those 80s movies were just an adventure. It was usually following buried treasure kind of movies, and that was the epitome of it, I
mean, Harrison Ford himself was such a cool guy. Obviously Indiana Jones and Han Solo. You don't get any cooler than that.
I mean, you probably get cooler than that, but very iconic for sure, right? But he's at the same time he follows art in knowing where the money's at and making iconic characters, but he's also the kind of guy that clearly doesn't the fame and the nerdom of it as much.
Yeah, I've seen some clips when he's being bombarded by fans. He's pretty much F off. But I can imagine that being annoying as well. But he's not one of those, you won't see him at every Comic-Con event.
Yeah, but I also like how much he cares about it too. It's not just I think he's gone on record saying hey, who do you want to be the new Indiana Jones? And he was like, I'm Indiana Jones. There's not a new one. And I was like, that I love. You're not remaking this. I'm it.
I like
a new story.
You're sticking by it. And you got the fifth one coming out next year as well.
Yeah, that's the whole reason I'm still wrestling. I was like, I gotta wrestle at least till the next movie comes out.
Yeah, as many bookings when it comes out as well. Literally, everyone's got Pitfall Jones.
Yeah, I went ahead and chose a 3-decade-old gimmick. I'm finally going to be relevant again. So,
no, it's an awesome gimmick. We'll sort of get into that as well a bit more deeper. Yeah. But I want to ask, when did you decide to train and become a professional wrestler?
Once again, that was a little bit later than a lot. I feel like everyone nowadays starts when they're 14. It's crazy. Yeah. I don't think I started until I was 25. Maybe 26, somewhere in there. And I was in New Mexico. And I I just had some friends that was like, hey, come see my show. I'm fighting for the championship. I was like, no, you're not. And then I was like, I'll go, and just expected to see like just not a good show, just kind of just a bad drinks kind of a thing. And I
Yeah.
went there and I'm like, this is amazing. Like this is going on in my area. This is wild. And I always loved it growing up. And then, but they're just, you know, 10 years ago, there wasn't this massive indie scene like there is now.
Yeah.
And in New Mexico, there was nothing. Like there was like Lucha Libre. And it just, I didn't really understand that culture. So I didn't feel like that was appropriate for me to go down that route, no matter how much I love wrestling. But then when I saw that, I was, oh, there's an opportunity in New Mexico to actually do this. And I always kind of was like a bit of a, on stage person. I did a lot of stand-up comedy for a while. And then, in college, I would play like rugby. So I missed that like physicalness. I was like, well, shoot, like just make that mission to have one match, which I'm sure you've heard that a lot before. So I'll just get to one. But that's how it happened. Just, had the right friends that invited me, and I was like, oh, this is better than I thought. And
Where
just
was
fell
it
in the
that
rabbit hole.
you did train?
I trained in Mosh Pit Mike's backyard in New Mexico. And if you're not familiar with the New Mexico weather, it's like 100 degrees in the summer, snowing in the winter. But we were out there. Like we were out there 2 to 3 times a week. We would just do it all outdoors.
Oh, wicked, man. What did you find sort of was some of the most difficult things in terms of training? I know it was in the backyard, but still you'd have to put your body through, some sort of, like back bumps and moves.
Um, the bad part about training was not knowing how to do it the correct way. I had some really great guys that like brought me in and made sure that like it was still like a good experience, but I didn't know all of the cardio and strength training you need to do outside of wrestling training. And so I'm just kind of like throwing my body around without building it up the right way for probably far too long. I think, nowadays it's like commonplace and people know that. And there's a lot of like fitness behind wrestling, but like I did very kind of like, I thought I was training because I went to like Gold's Gym twice a week and did my own, but like I wasn't doing it the right way. So just, if you throw your body around like that, but you're not building it up the right way, you're not being healthy and like, eating healthy and doing those kinds of things, injuries happen so fast. And so I did a lot of dumber things early on, and then I figured it out. And like no injuries in the last few years, no, and I banged my head a lot too. I think I had like 3 concussions like in that first 2 years, which is, not good. Like I should have stopped, but I learned how to do it right.
Yeah.
And that makes it a lot better.
That's pretty cool. It's kind of similar to the Hardy Boys. I mean, like, I know sometimes when people are like, oh, training backyard's not the best, but look how like they turned out. And I've seen like your in-ring stuff. Like you do like you have balance, you can do like death matches, you can do comedy. Technically, I think you're solid as well. And I just want to ask about your debut, because that was when you was Donny Amsterdam.
Yeah.
I want to hear about it.
Yeah, you did some research. I don't even talk about that. Yeah, no.
Censored.
That was like just trying to find yourself. And I didn't, the style at the time was like, one, I wanted to be a big character. So like a big movie I liked at the time was Gangs of New York. And I loved Leo DiCaprio. And I was all like, let me do that kind of character, right? Like he was this like heroic character with a cool look. And I was like, and I told my trainers, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be Amsterdam and I want to have this Gangs of New York look. And they were like, no, they don't want that. Like, if you want to go anywhere, you got to have like 2 names, got to be first name, last name. They want shorts, put a logo on your thing, maybe come out with a jacket, but like be a straight laced wrestler. And I did that. And it was never working for me. It just never really clicked. But that's why the name happened. Was I love that movie, but my trainers were like, you got to have a first name.
Oh man, I didn't know there was actually more to it. That's pretty cool though. I mean, I love Gangs of New York, by the way. It's one of Scorsese's best, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I just think it's fantastic.
Yeah, but it was a mess of a thing. Like I tried different things, try to stand out. Wear the gold. I think a lot of guys do that. Try to put a bunch of different names together. When I moved up to Seattle, I try to like use like my New Mexico roots to like be different, but it never really connected
Mm.
as much as I wanted it to.
I like that though. Like you sort of tried something, it didn't work, and I just want to know
Yeah.
about the process of Pitfall Jones. I think it's a quality gimmick, it's fun, and I can tell. Okay, it's heavily based on Indiana Jones, but I can tell like you are proper embracing it, and that, I feel like a lot of it's you as well.
Yeah, so I started it when I moved to Seattle, and there was a promotion called 3-2-1 Battle.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very much trying to emulate the Hood Slam vibe of just very big over the top characters, big over the top matches. And so I noticed that like everyone that came out had like something with them, right? They had like a little like prop that helped them tell their story, helped them get their character over. I was like, well, this is easy. I was all like, I can just be a collector of those items and put them in the museum. And I was like, I kind of look like the standard, like, action hero guy. So I was all like, I already like dig these movies. This is a good way for me to like get onto the show and have an interaction with everyone, right? Like, because if I'm taking their identity away, man, that gets the crowd involved. And then just a movie that's well known enough that I can shout a line, and not everyone knows it, but enough people know it that it makes sense.
There is something that he did shout. It was in SOS Pro Wrestling, and he basically did a shout out to John Williams, the composer for the. In case there is someone out there that doesn't know, you should be ashamed of yourself, by the way. But he was a legendary composer. The theme song, and he's done many iconic theme songs. But I love that little things like that. I just wanted to praise you for that. I thought that was a really cool moment.
Yeah, no, it's I love it. It's been hard to like make like social media content because I want to use the tracks from Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it's
so,
like
anything that's ever touched John Williams has that heavy trademark on it. Like you play one note, they're like,
That's getting his own whipping.
Yeah, I've made videos where I just sing the song myself. I do the do-do-do-dos just because like they can't trademark me.
Oh, the invisible whip. We have to talk about it.
Sure, yeah.
Genius spot. I mean, like, I know, look, comedy wrestling's not for everyone, but it gets a huge reaction from when I've seen you do it a few times. And if you can just talk, like, I'm going to probably not do it justice. Can you talk the process of the invisible whip and like how you do it and sort of what it is exactly that I'm talking about? But from you, I want to hear it.
Yeah, sure. So there was at 3-2-1, there was a guy that had an air guitar, right? And I think that's been done in wrestling before, but he used it all the time. And I was like, well, if he could do an air guitar, well, I'll just twist on that. And so instead of a bull whip, I had a satchel that I came out with. And so I would just bring out just my fist.
Yeah.
Or it'd be the invisible whip, just big miming. And then I'd always have my audio guy in on it. And so anytime I swung it, he hit the audio. And so it was always a hilarious like moment. And people like, man, they would either like, if the moment was right, they would love it, or they would hate it. And it was just me doing this with the whip effect. But the reason I did it is, they wanted me to have a whip right away. And I was like, well, if I have a whip, like I know how wrestling works. I'm going to have to get hit with that whip at some point. I was like, I don't want to do that. So for a solid year, we went with the invisible whip, which was pretty funny. But it was half, kind of teasing an air guitar, but half, I didn't want to get hit with a whip.
Your audio guy, shout out to him. His timing is awesome. Like, has he ever fucked that up, by the way?
Yeah, there occasionally there'll be one, but it's not like he hit it right enough times that like I could do it, and if it didn't hit, like we could just kind of like do like a little fourth wall and kind of like look, and like that would still get a reaction. The fact that it didn't make a sound, I could like shake on it, do this.
You still get a reaction either way, like if it does go right or it does go wrong.
It goes well, or if it doesn't, kind of like if your joke doesn't land, you kind of like just play with the tension a little bit, and they'll still roll with you.
Oh, it's just so cool. I mean, if anyone's not seen it, it's on what it was during one of your matches, and I think actually there's a separate clip just for it. YouTube it, take a pause, and go watch it quickly, and resume this interview, of course. But no, I think it's quality. I think 3-2-1 battle. It's very exciting. I love it. Even before the matches, they do 3-2-1 and then battle. I want to know about your time there. I mean, I think you've really touched on it as well, but I want to talk about some of your favorite memories and your moments there.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like, I mean, it's the reason that I'm still wrestling. Like I told you, I had that Amsterdam gimmick that I was wrestling, but I didn't like it. And it just gave me time to have like moments, and it was really unique because they ran every other week, and that was huge because in New Mexico, even if we had shows, it was like every other month, and that was it. Unless we like travel to Phoenix, which is 8 hours, or Dallas, which is 8 hours. Like New Mexico is this like, it's so secluded that it was hard to like make connections, especially when no one knows you. And there was less indies out there. So just a lot more reps in front of an audience that like came every 2 weeks. So they cared about what you did, and they cared about the little changes. And I was like, that's where I was like really, Strive wasn't so much like, oh my God, he's having a banger match, he's doing all his flips and stuff. I was like, the kids do that. But I'll tell you a story. And I'll tell you a story over a few matches, over a month, over like sometimes a year.
Yeah.
And the people that came every month were like, whoa. And it was really fun. They did, I kind of came at the right time where Washington wrestling was kind of like legalized up here, and the 3-2-1 was growing. We did big shows at like the iconic Showbox. And I just had really good timing of like arriving right as this company was taking off. And so it was huge. I think it was good for both of us because it revitalized me, and it just gave me like a lot of focus. As far as, cool things to watch, there's a bunch of stuff, man. Just check out 3-2-1 Battle. They put up most of their matches and videos. There's a couple big shows at the
YouTube channel's pretty good. It's a really good channel, to be fair.
Yeah, I think I want to check out it. A lot of great talent up in the Pacific Northwest that either started there or had a really unique take on their characters there that it's not like in many other places.
But with the gimmick that you do have as well, like from what I've seen with your matches, like it's just so likable. Like it's hard not to like, enjoy what you do.
Yeah. Wait, what was the question?
Oh no, that's not a question. I'm just making a point, just saying like your gimmick. But I want to ask as well, because I said about Professor of archaeology. Is that a shoot or is that kayfabe?
Oh no, I'm not an archaeologist. But I was the professor part is nice because I've been teaching forever, right? So I was I did elementary, middle school teaching, and then even recently been just doing like adult education teaching. So I've been teaching for a long time. So the professor stuff is really easy. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's fair play to you, mate. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that works out nice. But all of my archaeology knowledge comes from the movies.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. Indiana Jones, rank them.
So that, I mean, the most like easily watchable is 3, is Last Crusade. Like I'll rewatch that one the most. The best one, because I've old enough to know like good filmmaking, is the first one by a lot, like by a lot. So it would be 1, 3, 2, 4.
I kind of had a feeling 4 would be like 4's in its different level.
Yeah, 1, 3, 2, 4. But 3 is the most like watchable. And 5 I'm excited about, man. I don't know how much you've heard about it, but
it's the guy that's doing Logan, like he did Logan. So
yeah, they got James Mangold to do it.
Yeah, so gonna be a lot of faith in that.
A little bit grittier, and like the gal Phoebe, 3 names Bridgewalker. I'm probably messing that up, but she's hilarious, and I'm excited to see what they do with her in it.
Now it should be good. Like I think I've got a lot of hype because it's obviously, like I said, the guy did Logan, and Logan is amazing. Like, incredible. So I think it'll be good. Your tag team as well, Double Impact. I want to ask about your tag team partner, Root Kelly. I want to ask, what's he like inside the ring and outside the ring?
Yeah, well, I mean, so we got put into a tag team just in 3-2-1 because they were kind of like mid-carding it at the time.
Mhm.
They just needed something to do with us, and we ended up just like really vibing off of each other. And we're pretty different, the way we approach matches, the way we approach, life, just hanging out. But for some reason it works. He is in the ring, he's awesome. Like he definitely has throws a lot more kicks than I do, got a little bit more. He'll do, have more move heavy matches, and I'll have more character heavy stuff, and it
Yeah.
just kind of like combo ends up being a good matchup. But no, he's just a great guy. He's like, if you ever meet him or ever talk to him here, or
Mhm.
like check out his social media stuff, like he is just like, like just oozing optimism, just like the most optimistic guy, and is looking for like the most positive situation out of anything. So and most of the time I'm like, man, our match didn't go the way I wanted. We could have done this, and he's the one going, no, man, they loved it, all this stuff. So we're a good combo.
I like as well the matching with the film strips on your tie as well. I think that's pretty cool. And I watched the match
Yeah.
you had. It was with Vicky Dreamboat and Kikyo, and I thought
Yeah.
that was a really good match.
Yeah, that was fun for, I mean, they've never tagged before, and we were just, I think, opening match, so keep it light and friendly. But
Mm.
it I've always wanted to actually work with Kikyo. I think that was my first time working with Kikyo,
Oh wow!
which was really cool. I wanted to do that forever. And then I had Vicky's very first match, which was
Oh
like
wow!
a filmed thing on SOS, so not really official match, right? It was a pre-taped one, but so it was so good to see how far she's come
Mm.
with all of her training from Nightmare Factory, and sky's the limit for her. So just kind of cool to revisit that.
Yeah, they're both cool. I've had them on the show. I think you already know. So, but
Yep.
yeah, I enjoy speaking to them as well. They're really cool guests. Just a few more questions, and then I'll let you enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Yep,
Yeah.
afternoon for you, evening for me. It's a question I like to ask the guests because every answer is different.
Okay.
If you can have 3 dream dinner guests for your party, who would you pick and why? Also, it can be dead, alive, historical figures, anyone. You can pick Jesus if you really want to. Entirely up to you.
Oh my God. That's a hell of a question. It's because that's like who's, you would think like your most like influential people in your life, but like,
Yeah.
I think I'd be too nervous to talk to them. I don't know, man. You're um what's probably like sad, like for me to say this to you, but just 'cause you're just your accent always, like, I watch a ton, like my like downtime at the house is watching like BBC, like B-level comedians on those talk shows.
There's a
Like
lot
I
of them.
watched that all, like I watched like those dumb things like 8 out of 10 cats, and the like quiz of the year stuff. And I always like, every time I watch those, I'm like, man, I just want these guys to be my friends. Like I just want, it's probably like the worst answer ever, but I just want to hang out with like Richard Iowati, and I want to hang out with
Love
David
him.
Mitchell, and I want to
Mhm.
hang out with all those guys.
Mate, that's a good fucking answer. I mean, David Mitchell's great. Peep Show, brilliant show. I'm
Peep
gonna
Show
ask.
is
Oh, you
Peep
do like
Show
Peep Show?
Peep Show is
Yes.
hands down my favorite sitcom of all time.
This is the first time I've ever talked about Peep Show, and the fact that you love it as well. High
Oh, yeah.
five to that. Honestly, like
Yeah.
I love it. I've watched it over and over.
Yeah.
So, it's just superb. Like the humor from the point of view, and so I could just do an episode on that, but I won't. I thought I'll be tuning the listeners' ear off. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
But no, that's a good answer.
All
Now
right,
that you
cool.
mentioned about the talk show, guys, I want to ask
Yeah.
you one person because he comes from England, and you guys are stuck with him. James Corden. What do you think of
Yeah.
him?
I don't
We don't really like him here that much.
well, I just like there's so many late night shows that I don't end up watching his show. So I don't really know that much about him. I actually probably have watched more stuff of his when he was like on the BBC before he was famous. Then I've watched his
when he
show.
wasn't too bad.
Yeah, for like the US late night shows, I watch Seth Meyers. So I like, there's only so much of my night I'm gonna watch, funny recaps of news. So I miss out on it. But I don't know. What do you think about it?
Just keep it that way.
I feel like you have a strong opinion.
I think he's fucking annoying, and I'm glad that you guys are stuck with him. I'll be brutally honest. I don't even know the guy. Hate's a strong word, but I just really dislike him. I don't think he's funny. I really don't. Look, comedy is subjective. You, as a comedian yourself, that everyone's different sense of humor. Yeah. I just don't like him.
Oh my! See, but you saying that makes me want to watch it so badly. Like, what's so annoying about this guy?
But he's really popular though over there. He's doing really well. Like, he's doing really well. I have to applaud him for that. But yeah, we don't want him back, so you guys can keep him.
All right, thanks.
I'm gonna have to put it in the caption. I was just like, yeah, James Corden. But yeah, no, that's awesome. It's a bit of a boring question, but it's gonna be one of the last questions to wrap it up. If you had to show someone that's never seen a Pitfall Jones match, it doesn't necessarily have to be your favorite match, but you've got to introduce them and make them a fan. What match would you pick?
Oh man, that's not a boring question. I mean, it's a boring question to everyone listening but me, because they don't know my matches. But so like, what point I'm to? That's so tough. They're so tough. What would be a good one is the first time 321 did the Showbox. I had a match with Sonico, the Lucha Ghoul, and it was for the Seattle Underground title. And I think it was just so cool because that was like my first time in like such a beautiful like background in front of, I think that was my biggest crowd that I wrestled for before, outside of like an expo where people aren't really paying attention. And it was hard hitting, but it was also like really fun. Like he was like pulling out snakes and stuff. So I think that's a good example. It's still like 3 years ago, so I feel like I've come a long way so far. But at the same time, like if someone wants to like just check out they made it this far in the interview, which I'm so like, thanks for hanging out. Go watch that match, Pitfall Jones versus Sonico. We've had a few. I like wrestling that guy, but the one in the Showbox, that's a good first match.
Awesome. Yeah. I've got one more question, and that's because it's been mentioned, man. Favorite Peep Show character? I'm sorry, I never get to talk about Peep Show in my own podcast. So.
Character. So, like, do you mean like the two guys, or do you mean like one of the side characters?
Like, I mean, like most people might even say Super Hands, but just someone you really that always makes you laugh.
Oh man. I think I just like how miserable David Mitchell is. He's just so miserable, and he does it in the best. It's just so funny.
He has a tantrum. It's amazing.
Yeah, Olivia Colman's so good in that too. I think that was the first time I like really like saw her. So it's so cool to see her like become like a genuine like actress.
She's doing really well. Well.
But that. Honestly, don't even watch a Pitfall Jones match if you've never seen it.
No. You're my guest, and I do recommend you. Like, I'm a fan, so watch your matches first, then Peep Show. That in that order, if you can. I really hope you guys do not remake it though, because you've done it a few of our shows. Although American Office, fantastic.
I feel like there was a kind of version of the Peep Show. They didn't call it that, but I think like 6 or 7 years ago they tried to do it, and just not the right writers, not the right actors. It's okay. It doesn't even, and I'm hoping that I just made that up. It was like a nightmare. But yeah.
I'm going to be Googling that after this episode.
Worst part about Peep Show for me is that I can't get it on DVD because of the country code.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, so I can only watch it like every 2 years when like Hulu decides to buy it again. Like otherwise I'm just waiting around because I can't have it.
Yeah, because it's on Netflix. I'm not bragging because I'm sure there's stuff you've got that we haven't got, but not that I can think of. Oh, awesome, man. Awesome. Is there anything you've got lined up that you want to promote whilst we wrap this episode up officially?
I mean, one of the things that like I'm real proud of is like outside of like me in the ring wrestling, is being able to I did like all the video editing for like the SOS pro wrestling YouTube series. So like during lockdown, we couldn't wrestle in front of everyone. So we just wrestled like the 7 of us and we just made storylines to make it fun. And the first few episodes are they're not great because I was figuring things out and timing and learning how to like make a TV show. But the later seasons, but especially like season 2, I really, really love what we were doing. I love like the show that we put together, a little 30-minute wrestling without a crowd, kind of like storyline heavy episodes. And that's where, we got introduced, like Vicky Dreamboat became a thing in season 2. If you haven't seen that, it's a hilarious way to introduce the character. She reads a magic book and then poof, she's there. It's really funny. So I'm real proud of that. If anyone wants to check out SOS Pro Wrestling, and then we've been doing live shows since, and so we have all our matches up there. But that's a cool thing that I'm proud of. If anyone wants to check it out.
No, that's brilliant, man. You're really versatile. I mean, like editing, teacher, a wrestler, professor of archaeology. Yeah. But no, thank you for coming on, man. It's been a laugh. I feel like we've covered a lot. But it's where, if the listeners want to find you after watching the matches, where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, thanks, George. I really appreciate you having me. I keep it simple at Pitfall Jones everywhere, and it'll come up.
Awesome, my man. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. I know your time's precious. Mine, not really. No, I'm joking. But for everyone that's listened to this episode, thank you. There's going to be more episodes of What Do You Call It podcast coming out very soon. I hope everyone has a fantastic week. But for now, everyone, take care. That's why I made the whipping noise at the beginning. That's why.
There you go.
Hello, everyone. I have a special announcement from a returning guest.
I'm back. Just thought I had to do a page right there. I am the returning guest at What You Call It podcast with a new title. I'm the notorious Angel Amber Joe, the God's gift to professional wrestling, the definition of dominance and beauty, and you are listening to What Do You Call It podcast.
Yeah, I heard. Also, page here.